one of the things that I would like your insight on too, Marie, is I was reading that some of these AI powered programs that recruiters are using are meant to remove bias from the hiring process. And so I'm curious to know, do you think that that's actually possible? Or do you think that we're going to still come up against the same challenges of not having enough diversity in the workforce that we're continuing to see even now?
That's interesting. So we had a presentation by Findem at our Tech Jam, and we started following Findem, oh man, I don't know, 2018, 2019. So a lot of these technologies, the new AI tools have made them faster and better, but they were around in 2017, 2018, which was kind of when AI started to come out of the AI winter that happened kind of in the 90s. So we see this huge increase of those types of platforms way back then, before OpenAI. Now they're just getting faster and smarter. And so what we see with Findem is Findem can go out and it can find them, right? It can go and find people based on keyword search, based on specific criteria, based on all of these things that a recruiter can program in. And the idea behind it is that you could get a more diverse pool. So instead of going to the same universities you always go to, or the same recruiting events you always go to, now you can go and do a search and get people from around the country and more diverse people. Is it as Pollyanna as it sounds? Probably not. It's still going to have issues. However, it does get you out of those same patterns where maybe you're going to the same schools that are the same demographic, and you're not really even giving the other people a chance because you're not getting their applications. So there is that piece of it. And I shared in that post that Findem just partnered with Paychex last week and opened up Findem's technology to 750,000 small, mid-sized businesses that wouldn't have had access to it before. So this is really exciting. I think that you're seeing this proactive opportunity of recruiters to connect with candidates. However, it means that candidates have to be findable, which doesn't just mean your LinkedIn profile. It means that you're out there engaging in your industry, posting about your thought leadership, so that when I program Findem to go find a programmer with this language that, has worked on this type of thing, that it will find you because you're out there talking about it.
Well, and I think that's one of the beautiful things about leveraging a platform like Findem is that it can search for trillions of data points outside of just resume information. So to further back your point, the more content you have out about you, your skills, your qualifications as a job seeker, the more likely you are to come up in those search results because there's relevant keywords that maybe were missed on your resume, but are elsewhere in your online digital branding materials. So I do think that's exciting for, maybe candidates who can't necessarily hire a resume writer at this point in their career, that they can be found even if the resume isn't as robust as it should be. However, it's our job to make sure that we're providing the type of digital branding and online content or career materials that are going to help them be more easily found and give them an edge, especially when some of these tools are being used.
Right. Well, and Hannah says that people are saying there's a issue verifying the authenticity of profiles. Ooh. And I think this is one thing that these AI systems can do is find information in different places so that you're not just trusting the LinkedIn profile. And that's why I'm seeing recruiters prefer these types of systems, is because now you're drawing from, professional associations, from websites, from conference proceedings, from, even a career site of the company they used to work from. And you're gathering more global information that then builds that profile of patterns and reality versus just what someone puts on LinkedIn as their own self-created profile. And it just creates that more robust idea of who the person is and what their professional skills are.
even more reason to be engaging regularly online to make sure that you're coming out, breaking through the noise and making sure that you're backing up what's on your LinkedIn profile and other social media platforms, for example. One of the things that I like that I don't see a lot of job seekers do, which is a great way to demonstrate your skill set and qualifications and experience, is to have some kind of online portfolio or personal website. It could be really basic, but that has words, work samples, projects, slide presentations, things that demonstrate what you're skilled at that may not be appropriate on LinkedIn or another platform.
Right. And that's what I actually think that, all this online stuff could be scary because it's revealing or requires us to be visible, but it also gives us an opportunity to build a brand that we want. So if you want to be an expert in a certain industry, go get involved in that industry. If you want to transition from X to Y, you can go find online groups, podcasts, video blogs, whatever you want to call them. You can find all these opportunities to get visible and knowledgeable in that industry and connected in that industry online. And you can start to show up and search for that industry, even if you don't necessarily have experience in it, which is something that we've never really had an opportunity to do before.
Yeah, I love that there are so many different platforms and ways that you can share and create content online and become more visible. And I do think, your success is contingent on how much you're engaging with other people online, whether they're online connections, in-person connections, but being part of the groups that are going to help you demonstrate your areas of expertise, and also in a way that is going to make you more findable when recruiters are searching for candidates like you. And this is all, we talk about this, as if our job seekers can use it, but even as career professionals, the advice that we talk about, not only in conversations like this one, but also in the Certified Digital Branding Strategist course, is these can all be used for yourself as well to get your target audience of clients. So, one of the things I think is really valuable is being able to leverage the things that we do ourselves with our clients. But that means we need to be doing those things in order to know what we're really talking about and have some experience, but also guide our clients in the right direction so that they can create similar content for their target audience.
Right. And during Tech Jam, we talked about a few other ways that people can build portfolios for free now. So Google Sites has been around for a while, but now they've made it better. So you can create a Google site, and as long as you use the G site domain, it's free. So if you want to have your own domain name, you can buy your own domain name, but you can use a Google site address and build a pretty nice site easily for free. And then Canva also has a website feature, and there's a way you can do it under a free account, but it's just not very robust. And then if you have a paid account on Canva, you can build a website on Canva. I think those are a little bit more slated towards people that would have a visual portfolio, but you could still use it for any kind of portfolio to have that personal website that becomes a landing page and gives you that robust digital footprint, really what you're looking to build.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that time. What's that?
Oh, I need to try a Google site.
I know. Now I'm curious because I've built at this point now I've built 4 or 5 of my own websites for my business, and it's not always the easiest thing to do, but it's nice that and it's not always the least expensive thing to do. So it's nice to know that there are inexpensive or free platforms to do it. And I know if I were a job seeker with a tight budget, that's probably one of the things that I would look into doing, is creating some type of online portfolio with work samples, just to demonstrate, what my areas of expertise are. But that makes me think of too, when you're building some kind of personal site and portfolio, that you need to keep in mind that it needs to be SEO optimized so that you're actually coming up in search results. I was reading that only 25% of people scroll to page 2 of Google results, which actually was shocking to me because I'm a 5, 6, 7 pager. Like when I'm looking for something, I want to have I want the nitty gritty. I want to know everything that's out there, and then I'll make a decision. But I think for the general population, many of us don't have a lot of time or patience. So we never get past the first page. So if you're not incorporating keywords that are relevant to the type of opportunities you are seeking, your content's going to get buried. And in that case, it loses the value and impact that you're hoping that it has. So if you're going to put in the time and effort in creating content, put in a little extra effort and Google or use a program like Perplexity or ChatGPT to ask what are the most relevant, popular keywords that to make this site SEO optimized for X, Y, or Z goal that you have.
But yeah, there's so many options, which is oftentimes the challenge, right? We get overwhelmed because there's so many options. And so in the digital branding program, this is one of the things we talk about. And you said it early on, Kate, that we're looking at what platform works for our clients or candidates or our job seekers, hiring managers. Where are they on a regular basis? And this might not be social media, which is why we changed it to digital branding. It could be a group, it could be GitHub, it could be a professional association, anything where there's a digital opportunity to engage. That's what we're looking for. Where is your audience already involved in a digital conversation? And then also what type of conversation works for you. So there's video, there's audio, there's written content, there's lots of options, and you want to find that sweet spot where it's something you can do fairly easily for yourself, engage in the conversation, and it's something where your audience is. And you want to find those places that don't feel like a chore, although it might at first, but where you eventually get into, hey, this is a place where I want to be, where I want to engage and continue the conversation. That's what we're trying to help our clients find so that they can build that sustainable, long-term digital brand.
I do hear that quite a bit, from professionals like ourselves, as well as job seekers, that they're like, I don't really like social media. And I'm like, well, you don't have to love it, but it is one of those necessary evils where you have to have some online presence, whether it is a social media platform or a GitHub or similar. But I do feel like with all of the platforms and ways of communicating digitally, that there has to be something that resonates with you, at least enough where you can dedicate an hour or two a week of engaging, either creating content and posting regularly, or at the very least, engaging with other people's content, which is a really great way to establish yourself as a credible expert or professional in your field as well.
Well, that's interesting. So this kind of circling back around, we were talking about how TikTok isn't just about TikTok. It's also about Google results. And one of our members, Monica, she was talking today in our mastermind that she sees her TikTok results showing up on the first page of Google. So she doesn't share TikTok. She doesn't create TikToks, but she's been commenting on videos on TikTok. And those comments are showing up on the first page of her Google results. So this is a little bit of a warning to us all that no matter where you are, it's going to show up in your Google results. And so this is a great thing, right? You could go comment on TikToks in your industry, and y'all, there are HR people from agriculture making videos. So you can find TikTok videos in any industry and start commenting on them. And even that will show up in your Google results. And obviously, even more important than that, start building a relationship with those people who are posting the videos and just waiting and wanting for someone to comment on them and have a conversation.
I tend to like to work with people who I have something in common with, because if you're investing your time and money in a professional, it makes the process more enjoyable if you do have some things in common that you can chit chat about, or at least share similar values and interests. So I do think that's important for people to keep in mind. You don't have to share everything. Some of us, I'm an open book, so I love sharing all about my personal life. And the clients that work with me enjoy that about me. It's not for everyone. And that's okay. You don't have to reveal every personal detail. You don't have to reveal anything. But sometimes, the team that you're cheering for or the sport you like to play outside of work can make an impact in the way that people connect with you.
Yeah. And sometimes those posts and on some platforms are just personal, and sometimes they can have a business lesson. I think still one of my
Yeah.
top performing LinkedIn posts is when I hit my son in the head with the
Oh,
car door. And I got so many business lessons out of that as a coach, to not do things for people and let them do them for themselves, right? He never would have gotten hit in the head of the car if I would have let him close the door himself. So we can take that piece of it and be real and have stories that matter.
You hit on an important point, which is stories are so powerful. They are so powerful. And it doesn't have to be your own story. You could be sharing a story about someone else or a client engagement or something like that. It doesn't have to be your own personal story, but stories resonate. We remember stories much more easily than other types of content. So anytime you can write some type of narrative that people can connect with, they're more likely to remember the story, the meaning behind it, and you.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to start the digital branding class. If you want to go in all in for yourself and figure out how you want to show up digitally, or you want a process to help your clients show up online in a place that matters in a way that's comfortable to them, that's really what this class is all about. So we do talk about LinkedIn, but it's not about, the how-tos of LinkedIn. It's about how do you build relationships and build visibility online for long-term career or business success. So that's what we're going to be talking about. But Kate, thanks so much for joining and sharing that research about social media. That was great.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Marie.
All right, everyone. Thank you. Have a great afternoon. We'll see you back here next Tuesday. The